X-Men number 32, a.k.a. Uncanny X-Men Legacy number 697, from Emma with Love.
Some people really love this. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, some people really love this.
That's true. I've seen that on the Twitters.
I'm not sure we read the same book.
I was wondering if you were going to be one of those people.
Yeah, no, I was okay, but I was just like, people are raving about this and didn't push my buttons, I guess.
I was just going to say, it pushes some people's buttons very, very specifically. It is written by Jerry Duggan, of course, art by Phil Noto, as this whole arc has been, letters by Clayton Cowles, design by Tom Muller and Jay Bowen. So yeah, for me, this is really just a handful of Twitter bait memes kind of barely strung together. 2 short scenes, 1 longer scene. So the short scene number 1 takes place on that island that has been the location of the Hellfire Gala that I can never pronounce correctly, so I'm not gonna. Orcus has just remembered, hey, we left the loose end here. There's a lighthouse keeper. He lives there. He was the one who was seen flirting with mutant fashion designer Jumbo Carnation in the Hellfire Gala issue. And in this issue, we're told that the lighthouse keeper and Jumbo, quote, traveled the world together, which is an odd thing for the sole lighthouse keeper on a rocky island to do, isn't it? I wonder how many ships sank to the bottom of the ocean while the happy couple was exploring Milan. Maybe he gets a substitute. I don't know how these things work. In any event, one cartoonishly evil, unnamed Orcus goon comes to the lighthouse, threatens the life of the unnamed lighthouse keeper. Unfortunately for the goon, this lighthouse keeper is protected by Lockheed the mini dragon, who gleefully and just joyfully burns the goon to death with his fire breath. So how did Lockheed get here? How long has he been here? I couldn't tell you. I don't know if Jerry Duggan can tell you.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because they're like, the return of Lockheed. I'm like, I didn't know he was missing, but okay. Not one of my favorite characters. But...
I tried to track him down, as he's been in some issues, there's flashback issues that are set in a different era, like not part of the Krakoan era of things. He's been in some of the Marvel Unlimited, X-Men Unlimited things, which may be canon, I'm not sure. And he was definitely last on panel in a main book in that Steve Orlando Marauders volume that we both skipped. So I couldn't tell you where Lockheed is.
Okay, so something happened to the Orlando book, I'm guessing.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Which, even that book I thought was set kind of not so much in the same timeline. Didn't they go back in time and they saw like the original mutants? I don't know. I didn't read it. I shouldn't speculate.
Yeah, I was offended when I heard that he decided to come up with like mutants before Iraqi. I was like, nope, I do not need that.
Yeah, that's why we skipped it. So yeah, once again, a lot of very happy killing in this book by characters who should be heroes. And I'm just kind of sick of that. Moving on to short scene number 2. It takes place on the streets of a town that might be New York City. Doesn't really say. First, we listen in as Emma sends a psychic recap out to her fellow mutants. The Orcus Bloom space station is destroyed. We saw that. Tony Stark is in Australia using his Sentinel Buster armor to bust almost all the remaining Sentinels, except for a few that X-writers need to keep around for their contractually obligated fight scenes that are no longer a threat. Back in New York proper, if it is New York, Emma sees some Orcus goons arresting defenseless mutants, so she uses her Hellfire brass knuckle wedding present, seen in that recent Iron Man issue 2, gleefully murder those Orcus goons to death. She just vaporizes them from the waist up. So, Ruben, I guess you were right. Those aren't just Iron Man repulsor beams.
Yeah, they're whatever you need them to be beams.
I suppose so.
I need these things to go away very quickly. They're not cool. And, yeah, they're just, I'm going to say that. They're just not cool.
And these Orcus guys, they're just gone from belt level and higher. You just see these legs lying on the ground with blood and guts coming out of them. It's not drawn as graphically as in Wolverine, but it's weirdly bloodthirsty, this issue.
They kind of don't do anything that Emma couldn't just do on her own either, right? Like, this scene to me would have been a lot cooler if you have Nasty Emma just use her mind powers and have them shoot each other, right?
Shoot each other, walk in front of a truck, jump off a building, whatever, but... Yeah, they want to make her use the new toys.
It just reeks of Duggan being like, this is the coolest thing. Let me just show it, right? Just in case you're not reading Iron Man. And I didn't need to see it again.
Yes, White Queen. So our long scene now takes place in Hershey, Pennsylvania, the only town I've ever been in where the whole place smells like chocolate. Have you ever been there, Ruben? Hershey, Pennsylvania?
Nope. Does it smell like chocolate?
The whole darn town does. It has, so the Hershey factory is there. and like an amusement park, and it's a touristy place. It was like in between relatives we would visit every year for Christmas, so we would often stop through. So it's a kind of neat place. Our main character here is Magic, Ilyana Rasputina, freshly returned from her Realm of X side mission, and she's not feeling too good. We know that she'd been dosed with nanites by Dr. Stasis to prevent her from being able to teleport mutants away from the Hellfire Massacre. That happened in X-Men 23. But now, without any foreshadowing that I'd noticed, those nanites seem to be killing her. Now, in Realm of X, it was kind of maybe... did we decide that her magic powers being controlled weren't nanites or were nanites? Again, these nanites can do whatever the writer needs to happen in that one particular issue with no actual continuity or stakes.
I thought she tapped into dark magic, and that was a thing that she wasn't supposed to do, but she did anyways. I was under no impression that she was terminally ill from nanites, but here we are.
No, it's come out of nowhere. So she thinks that she's found a way to fix this, or at least to get some revenge along the way, and that is to attack Orcus's Reverend Stryker Education Center for Disadvantaged Youths, which is just a copy of the Henry Gyrich Center we've seen in New York, moved over 2 states into the middle of Pennsylvania. So Magic kills a whole pile of Orcus goons here. Have I said that before? While pointing out, for those who might have missed it, that the whole kill no man krakoa rule really isn't applicable anymore. I think we figured that out, Magic. We figured that out.
Yeah, let me jump in really here. This doesn't bother me as much as it's obviously bothering you, because Magic was pretty much a villain for most of her time as a X-character until basically the Krakoa era. I think she had
all
some
her Queen of Limbo situation, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, she was quite frequently screwing people over, including her brother. So, yeah. And I guess that you could say the same thing about Emma, right? So those characters killing people, not so much.
How about
Lockheed was weird.
How about Lockheed? Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Nightcrawler over that issue. It's if it was only the villains, I'd go, that's interesting. They're reverting to type, but it's all the heroes. So I don't.
And Shadowcat, and Polaris, these are the ones where I actually am like, what the hell's going on here, right? So some of these characters it doesn't bother me, and then others I'm just like, this is super.
Yeah, it would be so much more interesting to me if some of them were saying, hey, we're going to go back to being the, kill everybody to protect ourselves, the old Magneto kind of mindset. Yep. Versus let's try to actually salvage something here.
It's not well thought out, I think. You would think it would be specifically that, right? And then it would make a lot of sense, right? Krakoa fell apart and these people are, with the shackles off them are going to revert back to their old personalities.
Well, that's not where we are. Where we are is one Orcus goon is found here in the process of burning evidence. Even he knows that Orcus has already lost, and in his words, quote, there are going to be trials. Which is an interesting concept that I wish was explored some more. Who's thinking about what's the actual state of the world now, and how are the different villains trying to prepare for that? So he's about to shoot Magic to death, but then Kitty, a.k.a. Kate, a.k.a. Shadowcat, phases in from below, rescues her. The two ladies then rampage through the building in an orgy of bloody murder. I mean, there is so much blood. I mean, it is played for comedy how much blood is splattered all over the windows of the skyscraper. And in go ahead.
I should say, yeah. This is some of the stuff right? I understood Kitty Pryde when she was kind of enraged, right, about all of her friends getting killed. This is several times later, right? And that's the kind of stuff that I struggle with it. And in defense,
that
right?
One issue
she kills some
right
people,
after the Hellfire Gala, that was cool. That made sense.
Yeah. And you could have even played it a little clever, what the hell did I do, right? You're a little shocked at yourself. And you could see her in a defensive situation, killing more people, right? But this seems very much on the offensive and not even necessary, right? Both of them, well, at least, I guess Kate can teleport for sure, right? Or phase, not teleport, but phase. She could basically just walk through this whole thing without killing anyone, right? But
it's like those walkthroughs where you see people have the secret way to beat Zelda in 5 minutes because you phase through the walls. That's what she could do. It's just gratuitous, both in universe and gratuitous out of universe in an artistic sense. Another thing here is that, what was I going to say? Oh, right. Magic says that she's looked everywhere for mutant survivors, but not the Morlock tunnels. Now, Ruben, when mutants are under violent repression, wouldn't the first place you'd think to look be that place that mutants always go to when they're under violent repression?
Well, this just shows how crappy magic is. She didn't want to be
just
around
to
those
explain
ugly-ass
away.
Morlocks.
Right. Oh, no, that's pretty
Magic's too
shallow.
beautiful for the Morlock tunnels. She's not going to go there.
It does feel like, we got to throw in something to explain away why she hasn't been seen by the other mutants, and it doesn't work. Try again, Jerry. Doesn't work. We need to add one more character to our story, and it's Polaris. She enters carrying a paper cup of coffee. Now, that's Polaris is one singular character trait we got. She drinks coffee all the time. I can't criticize the concept of running gags because it's kind of what I do, but this one isn't funny. Come on, let's make the coffee thing go away.
I don't know, man. I'm really connecting with that.
Representation matters. I understand.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, it's a way here that repeatedly Duggan uses humor in the book, but he does it in a way that to me just saps any sense of danger, any suspense. Like, I'm just above it all. I'm here drinking coffee, ho hum, and it's not exciting.
It's kind of horrible. You just show up and your friends have like brutally murdered everybody. You've got blood dripping in the backdrops. You're just like, whatever. I'm just going to throw this paper cup on the ground. No biggie. These people are awful, all of them. and I've been
which
kind
is
of
funny.
I haven't really bought into that.
Right.
You know, the argument of like, you've turned all the X-Men into like villainous characters.
That's what people said about Hickman way back in Hawks Pox in the early time here, and now they're so much worse. They're so much worse.
There's a thin line between a repressed minority group standing on their own 2 feet and not taking crap anymore. And then there's this. And this is just not good.
Yeah. So Polaris is here for a particular reason. She uses her mastery of magnetism to painfully rip those nanites out of Magic's body. So at least that's over. But isn't Kitty Pryde right there? And isn't Kitty's whole deal that when she phases through technology, that technology stops working? They even referenced that with her fight with Nimrod previously, right? How he had to come up with all these defenses against that.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Call me crazy. That seems like a much easier, less painful way of dealing with those nanites, doesn't it?
Also, master of magnetism, you'd think you could maneuver those things. I mean, we had Magneto basically like working his whole system, right? Like keeping his blood flowing. This doesn't look very like much control in Polaris society.
Yeah, it's not like a delicate situation. It's just brute force. And maybe that's Polaris's thing. Maybe she's not quite a Magneto yet. But yeah, have Kitty do it would have been better. We end with one more Stark Sentinel battle. It's just an excuse for 2 more memes. First, Polaris pulls over some electrical cables while saying, "To me, my power lines."
Yeah,
which may be the worst one yet.
Yeah, it was awful.
I'm going to write a letter to Tom Brevoort asking for him to ban the "to me, my" bit for at least the first 12 months of his tenure. Way overdone. Got to give it a rest for a while. It's not funny anymore.
Also, just wildly imbalanced threats again, right? Like, again, these Stark Sentinels were supposed to be tough as hell, and now you can just stick a sword in their head and jam some power cords, and that's good enough to take them out.
Exactly. They're not scary anymore.
I don't know why they're ever scary. I mean, we even have like Kitty Pryde here just cutting some exposed wires in their feet. Like, this is really what the Stark Sentinels are. This is their threat. It's just annoying.
It feels like we're just on the downhill slope of this arc. So we don't have time for that anymore. Now the mutants are winning. Therefore, the mutants are winning. A little circular logic.
I just don't think Duggan is that clever with this, and it feels like he did the same thing to Nimrod, right? Like he's just had robots get smashed pretty easily, and he doesn't seem to
same
make
thing
that threatening.
Has been done. I'm not sure it was Duggan exactly, but by Omega Sentinel, she was so cool and so threatening, and then she gets knocked out twice in a row by nobodies. We got one more meme to deal with, and that's delivered by Emma, who drives up and does the Mean Girls meme, telling Kitty and Magic to get in. We're killing the fascists. And I know you're not on Twitter anymore, Ruben. Smart you, but that has been all over Twitter. Super popular. Ha ha. She said, get in. We're killing fascists. And yeah, it's fine on Twitter, I guess. It doesn't advance the story, and it makes Emma look very lame. So how do we wrap this thing up? Lockheed's joined the party here in Hershey. How'd he get there? When? It doesn't matter. We just need a panel of everybody snuggling the dragon, which is not a euphemism. And Cyclops psychically radios in to remind us that he's still alive, which I don't know if this is the first time all the X-Men find out that he wasn't actually executed. And he tells them, oh, that whole Dr. Gregor exists, and she's kind of on our side now. So I guess next issue is going to deal with Nimrod and also with Dr. Devo and maybe Dr. Gregor. I hope that one's better than this one. The cover of the next issue also features those Latverian mutants from the Doctor Doom issue, which could be fun. I'm struggling with the optimism after this one, but I'm trying to say, yeah, we liked them last time we saw them, so maybe they'll be good again. But this issue, not so much fun. I've got no problem with the Phil Noto art. You know his art. We know his art. If you love it, you love it. If you don't, you don't. I think he does his usual quality job. But the story, and especially the dialogue, just do less than nothing for me. I know lots of people enjoyed this issue a lot more than I did. Even in the Slack, Get Fresh Crew member Softboy said he was just happy to see Magic and Kitty together. Now, I haven't been reading X-Men comics most of my life like some people, so nostalgia for these kind of pairings, it just doesn't, I don't have that button installed, right? That's not my thing. So if you enjoy that nostalgia, you can get more pleasure out of this. Good for you. I just thought every attempt at a joke here made me like it less, and Jerry Duggan's humor doesn't work for me. It's not quite as painful as like maybe Mark Russell's humor, but it's kind of down in that neighborhood. So I have to give this issue a 4.5 out of 10. Pretty bad, maybe the worst one I've read for a long time. Ruben, are you as pessimistic and negative as me, or not quite?
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. I thought I was going to be the negative guy, though. I'm just going to give it a few 5. I mean, it makes me angry. Gotcha. Yeah, it makes me angry. It's just not good. And it's generic. Such a shame. It feels extremely rushed. And I just have a hard time dealing with this when we've got like a really good kind of thoughtful, deep story with, Kieran's side of the kind of closing days of this. And it's super hard to like rationalize it because they're kind of like intertwined. But you've got a book that takes it all seriously, and then so I'm all excited, and then I'm like, and then, oh yeah, this. It just really drags down the other story, too, which sucks.
I think that one of my big problems with this side of the story is that there's been no dramatic arc, right? Around the time of Fall of the House of X #1, Orchis looked unbeatable. Have all of Earth over a barrel. They've got these unbeatable Stark Sentinels. How in the world can our plucky underdogs possibly win? And then cut to now, Orchis seems they're already beaten. They're already giving up. They're barely a threat. But there was no dramatic turning point. We yada-yada'd over the best part. Maybe the chronologically confused publishing schedule is partly to blame, right? Books are coming out of order, which certainly can't help with the whole dramatic tension. Maybe months from now, somebody's going to put together a Fall of the House of X event reading order with every issue in its proper place, and maybe there the arc will feel more like an arc. But right now, it's not an arc, it's just a flop.